And welcome everybody to Satellite 2017. I'm glad you're all with us here to talk with Jeff about some exciting new developments with Blue Origin. We have a lot to talk about today, so if you don't mind, we'll jump right into it.
Please do.
So Jeff, you launched Blue Origin many years ago, but your ambitions in space began long before that.
True story.
Can you tell us a little bit about the vision behind Blue Origin? What's the CEO and founder of Amazon? Where does that lead to launching rockets?
Well, you don't choose your passions choose you. And I fell in love with space and rockets when I was a 5-year-old boy and watched Neil Armstrong step onto the surface of the moon. Mm-hmm. And I have been passionate about it ever since. And there's a very real sense in which Amazon, which is an amazing, fun, interesting company to have started and lead, is a lottery winning for me. And so I'm taking those lottery winnings and investing them in Blue Origin. And I've been working on that for 15 years. Our motto is gradatum ferociter, which means step by step ferociously. I like to do these things very incrementally. We have, there's a military phrase that I especially love, and it says, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And I have seen that in every endeavor I've ever been in. That's the kind of thing that really allows you to make progress. If you do everything in the right sequence, never skip any steps. And so we have been working in that vein for a long time, and stuff is coming out the pipeline, and I can tell you it's incredibly gratifying. We have now more than 1,000-person team at Blue Origin, and that team is incredibly talented, and they're doing a great job. My vision for Blue Origin, the long-term vision, is millions of people living and working in space. We need a spacefaring civilization for a whole bunch of reasons, and that's the vision.
And it's very exciting, and it's been exciting to follow this story throughout the years. And one of the most exciting developments was the new Shepard suborbital launch system. Reusability is such a disruptive innovation in the launching community. Can you tell us why? And it's not very easy to do.
No.
What makes reusability worth the challenge to overcome?
Well. First of all, when you're talking about reusability, you have to be very precise and know that you need to be talking about true operational reusability. With the space shuttle and some other the solid rocket boosters and so on, there have been some attempts to get reusability in launch vehicles in the past, but they haven't succeeded. And the reason is it wasn't operational reusability. You would have to, there was just too much inspection, maintenance, validation of the vehicle that had to be done. You need to get to a place, ultimately, that is much more like commercial airliners. And obviously, you can't, you can't get on a commercial airliner. If the airline throws it away at the end of every trip, very few people are going to be able to afford to take that vacation. Similarly, even if they fly it to the destination, and then they have to disassemble the whole thing, x-ray every part, and then reassemble it all and test it again, it's going to be a very expensive vacation. If you can get to real operational reusability, and we've done that on our new Shepard vehicle, our suborbital vehicle, then you can dramatically lower the costs. The cost of launch is driven largely by the hardware. It's driven by the non-recurring engineering of designing the vehicle, and it's driven by the cost of throwing that hardware away every time. The propellant costs are vanishingly small. People don't pay much attention to it, but the propellant costs for a large launch vehicle are typically less than $1 million, especially if it's a hydrocarbon launch vehicle. So the launch cost is a couple of orders of magnitude larger than the propellant costs. So there's a lot of opportunity over time to dramatically shrink costs, and reusability is 8 of the 10 points to dramatically shrink costs. The other thing that you really need to shrink costs is practice. And that's why, that's one of the reasons that we did New Shepard first. New Shepard is, I have a video I can show you in a second, but New Shepard is a suborbital tourism vehicle. And that mission is so important for us because that's a mission that we can fly many, many times a year, and we will get so much practice. It's 110,000 pounds of thrust, liquid hydrogen engine, and the practice is directly relevant to our larger launch vehicles. And so, even the upper stage is liquid hydrogen, and it's the same engine. It's an upper stage variant of the BE-3. Do you want to show that?
Yeah, let's show that video, the New Shepard.
Five, four, command engine start. 2, 1, 0. Lift off. New Shepard is clear of the tower. Approaching max Q. PM confirmed separation, 250,000 feet.
CC apogee, 339,000 feet.
Engine is running. We have thrust. Touchdown.
Thank you.
So cool.
We have, thank you. We have flown that very vehicle into space above the Kármán line, 100 kilometers up, 5 times, with very small amounts of maintenance between flights, measured in, on the order of less than $10,000. And that is a really big deal, to be able to do that over and over again with the same vehicle. And you have to design that in from the beginning. And so that New Shepard landing that you see is very slow, precise, and controlled. And that's one of the things we wanted to be able to practice. And one of the reasons that we chose, if you want to recover a booster, a big booster, an orbital booster, there are a few options. You can put wings on it, kind of like the space shuttle. You can use parachutes, and there have been designs. That's actually never been done, but it could be done. And you can do vertical landing. The reason that I like vertical landing is because it's so scalable. Vertical landing is the inverted pendulum problem. If you balance a broom on your hand, you can do that. If you try to balance a pencil on your hand, it's very difficult because the pencil has a very low moment of inertia. So as the vehicle gets bigger, that inverted pendulum problem actually gets a little easier to solve. And so we're doing this now. In a certain sense, it's the hardest vertical landing problem that we'll ever have because this is the smallest vehicle that we'll ever build. Mm-hmm. And so that's a technology that scales really, really well.
So you've had this practice and this experience. We're at a satellite conference.
Yes.
How does that experience relate to launching satellites?
Well, New Shepard is leading to our orbital vehicle, and all of the elements that we have had to learn and build, and all the processes that we've had to put in place, and all the practice that we will get with New Shepard are what is making it possible for us to build the orbital vehicle using the exact same techniques. The reusable booster stage of the orbital vehicle is 100% informed by all of the lessons that we learned in the course of the New Shepard program. So it's very directly relevant. The other thing I would point out is kind of more on New Shepard. The tourism mission is, I think, very important. There's historical, many historical cases where entertainment turns out to be a driver of technologies that then, that then become very practical and utilitarian for other things. Even in the early days of aviation, one of the first uses of the very first planes was barnstorming, and they would go around and land in farmers' fields and sell tickets. And likewise, more recently, the GPUs that are now used for machine learning and deep learning, they were really invented by NVIDIA for video games. They were designed for video games to make video game graphics better. And so the entertainment industry can often be a driver of technology that then gets repurposed. And that's what the New Shepard program, that tourism mission, because we can fly it so frequently, is going to be a real driver of our technology.
Awesome. Excellent. Last September, you tweeted about your larger launch system.
Yes.
The New Glenn.
Yes.
So we have New Shepard, we have New Glenn.
Yes.
I noticed a theme with the names.
There's a theme,
could
yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Here's the lineup. You can see New Glenn there on the right-hand side. And it comes in a 2-stage variant and a 3-stage variant. The name comes from John Glenn, who was the first American to orbit the Earth. Alan Shepard is the namesake for New Shepard, the first American in space. And I actually have, it was a very meaningful moment for me because John Glenn had been one of my heroes my whole life. And on the day he died, I received a letter from him telling me how honored he was that we had chosen his name as the namesake for New Glenn. And the letter was also very funny, and he said, but don't forget, I'm the original Glenn. Very sweet, and I have that letter framed now in my office, and it means a lot to me.
That's great. And as we see with this graphic here, the New Glenn is a large vehicle.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about its performance?
Yeah, and if you, for sure, and actually, if you put up the next image, this will reveal a few more details to you about New Glenn. And one of the things that you can notice there is the large aerodynamic strakes on the aft end of the vehicle, and I'll talk a little bit about that. This is the 2-stage variant of New Glenn. It is, which is the stage that's probably most relevant to this audience. And the New Glenn has quite a bit of capability. It can take 13 metric tons to GTO. It can take 45 metric tons to LEO. And it is the booster stage is designed for operable reuse. The engines, the BE-4 engine, is designed for a 100-flight lifetime. The strakes you see there are very interesting. Those aerodynamic surfaces allow us to operate with very high availability in very high wind conditions. So that booster needs to go downrange and land on a moving ship. And it needs to be able to fly through a wide variety of wind environments to do that, because we don't want to constrain availability of launch based on the availability of the landing of the reusable booster. And so we've put a lot of effort into making letting the vehicle fly back with aerodynamic surface control instead of with propulsion. Because it turns out to be, if you want lots of cross range to be able to get back to the landing ship, even with unknown wind environments, you really want to be able to do that aerodynamically rather than propulsively. Yes, it's a big vehicle. That stage is going to be reusable. I think I also have a video if you'd like to
Sure. I mean, it's a beautiful rocket, and it's interesting. The strakes will be really great for cutting down the wind, the wind factor in terms of when you can launch, and it'll make it a little bit more reliable in terms of making sure you get things up there on time.
Yes, and that's exactly right. And it's designed so that we don't need to do an in-space deceleration burn, which saves on propellant, and which, I mean, it's a performance and efficiency improvement to not need to be able to do that in-space deceleration burn.
Yeah. So can we see this animation?
Yeah, we have an animation for you. Go ahead and run that. Here we are at the launch pad. There's the landing. This is the bit test. So this is the built-in test at the beginning, checking the landing gear, the actuated aerodynamic surfaces. There's 6 landing gear so that we have landing gear out capability. This thing can land with 5 landing gear. You'll notice that the plume is very blue. That's because the BE-4 engine uses liquefied natural gas. Stage separation. That's the upper stage variant of the BE-4. Fairing separation. The booster is reorienting with RCS, re-entering. You can see the aerodynamic surfaces moving, eject disturbances. Landing. It lands, the ship that we're landing on is underway, and it'll be underway because we can use fin stabilizers to stabilize the ship. And again, that's so that we can have high availability even in heavy sea states. So with big waves, we can still stabilize the ship while it's underway. And the most important part, satellite deployment.
Excellent. That's so cool. It's really exciting to see. Okay, so we've seen the ability to launch a satellite. Now, I have it on good authority that you've been working on an actual first customer for New Glenn.
Yes. Well, I would. You notice there's an empty chair here.
I did.
And at Amazon, we always kept an empty chair at meetings for the customer, sort of as a symbol that the customer should be at the meeting. But this time we're going to fill that empty chair with a customer. So should we do that?
Yeah, sure.
You want to come on out?
All right. Well, we have our first customer for New Glenn. Oh. Mr. Rodolphe Belmer from
Rodolphe Belmer from Eutelsat.
Have a seat, please join us.
Thank you for...
Welcome, Rodolphe. How are you?
Well, very happy.
Well, thank you so
much.
much.
Very happy to be on stage today with you and to share this very important moment with you, Jeff.
Thank you. We are incredibly excited and proud that a company like Eutelsat would choose New Glenn. So thank you for that.
So can you tell us a little bit about I guess it's a contract for New Glenn?
It is a contract. It's a contract that was signed, and we are very happy to be this first commercial client, I would say, for New Glenn. Well, as you might know, Eutelsat is one of the main satellite operators in the world, and we are making lots of launches. We have performed around 50 across the history of the company. And what is very important for us is to work with launch agencies which can deliver on some very important element for us. That's the flexibility, that's the reliability, that's the partnership spirit, which is also very important to us, and that's innovation. And we think that our role as an industry leader is to stimulate competition so that there is a stream of innovation in this industry and that access to space is easier. And when the opportunity of Blue Origin, of a New Glenn presented itself, we jumped on it because we believe it was a phenomenon, good news for our industry to attract such a player with a very large ambition to this industry, and that it would serve the industry overall and also modestly the needs and interests of Eutelsat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Eutelsat has done a number of been the first customer for a number of launch vehicles in the past, and so we will also benefit, I think, very greatly from their experience. And on behalf of the whole Blue Origin team, thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. It's true that we have been the first to fly on Atlas, on Delta, on Ariane, obviously, which is our French launcher, and we like to share this experience with you. We are very happy that you are joining this family, and we are very happy to help you on that.
Thank you.
So, I mean, this was a surprise. It was a surprise enough to know that Blue Origin is launching satellites, and we have the new rocket. Can you just give us some details? How did this partnership come about?
Well, a few months ago, we started approaching customers, and Eutelsat was very interested, and right away, and it's really a great partnership, as we're saying, because they've done so many new vehicles in the past, and so we couldn't hope for a better first partner because they're going to be able to help. So it's perfect.
And Rodolphe, how did you first get into this partnership with Blue Origin? When did you first say, that's the rocket I want to launch on?
Well, actually, when the opportunity presented itself, we didn't balk at considering it. What we think, as I told you, is that having a very significant player with large ambition, with capacity to innovate, and with a proven track record of innovation is an extremely good news for our industry. And what also we have appreciated from the very beginning is the partnership spirit. It's very important for us to build up this kind of spirit, because the relationship between the launch agency and a satellite operator needs to be very intimate to make sure that we deliver on what we need, and that's the kind of spirit that we have found with your team, Jeff, and that we welcome a lot.
Thank you. And I would say, our goal, and we won't stop until we achieve it, is to dramatically lower launch costs. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take time. But when we do achieve that goal, it will grow the entire industry. We'll reach a new equilibrium in this industry. Right now, launch costs are expensive, satellites are expensive, satellites have high lifetimes. In the future, once launch costs are much, much lower, satellites can come down in cost, they will be less precious, so you'll be able to take more technology risk, the lifetimes will be lower, you'll replace them more frequently. You'll reach a new equilibrium, and that new equilibrium will be just a much larger industry. So the whole thing is very exciting, and I hope you guys feel that as much as I do. I know you do, Rodolphe.
Well, thank you both so much. We, as we were speaking here up on stage, the videos that we just watched will be available on the Blue Origin website. So if you want to see videos of the rockets, you can go to Blue Origin's website. And I also believe Eutelsat will have some information out about the partnership as well. Both of you will be here at the show, meeting with all of you, and we look forward to having all of you, Jeff, you meeting our community here at Satellite. Yeah. So thank you so much for both. Let's give our special guests a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.